Welcome back to episode 6 of QuaranTube. This is going to be a two-part how-to-do-it-yourself video on working on your 2009 to 2014 Ford F-150. This video is going to show you the super simple process of exchanging front differential fluid as well as transfer case fluid. Super easy stuff that anybody can do on their own. Hand tools are all that's required. No lifting of the truck, no jacking up of the truck. You do it all just sitting on the floor. Really easy process. Things to note, for the front differential, you're going to want to use 80W90 axle lubricant. I'll show you the bottle in this video so you'll see the exact label on that. For the transfer case, this is where things get a little different. For the transfer case, in this video I used Mercon XL12. That's what these trucks initially came with. That's what was sent out from the factory in the transfer cases. Now, that fluid is no longer made. You can still find it online, but you're not going to be able to pick it up at the dealership or your local store. But that's okay, because all of these transfer cases are now spec'd out. They can accept Mercon LV in the transfer case. So if you can't find the XL12, you're all right. Mercon LV will work in there perfectly fine. You won't damage anything. That fluid is spec'd for the transfer cases. Transfer case, easy process. We pull out the lower plug, we drain all the fluid out, we put the lower plug back in, we take the top plug out, we put in the new transfer case fluid, we put the top plug back in. That deed is done. As far as the front differential goes, a lot simpler than the rear differential. There's no removing the housing cover or anything like that. We're just taking out the plug. We're going to use a vacuum pump to suck out the fluid that's inside of the differential, and then we're just going to take new fluid and we're going to pump it in about 2 quarts of that 80W90, put the cap back on the fill hole, and then both of these projects are done. It's real easy. Anybody can do this, and I hope these videos are helping you do your own work on your F-150. All right, so we're back in the garage. It's a Richard Petty autographed NASCAR tire, in case you're wondering. We're back in the garage, and today we're gonna do the front differential. Things you're going to need: a vacuum brake bleeder, regular old ratchet, a fluid pump, and front lube. This is rear lube, but the specs for this work in the front. So that's what we're going to need. And I'm going to and for the suction thing to work, you need an air compressor. So I'm going to crawl underneath and show you what you're looking at. So that's your front differential. Right there is the plug. You pull that plug out. Unlike the rear differential, we're not taking the plate off simply because you really can't access that plate. In here, it's sealed fine. There's no leaking issue. So we're going to pull this plug, and then I'm going to take the vacuum brake bleeder. I'm going to take the hose of that, stick it down through the fill hole, and then we're just going to suck out all the old fluid, and then we'll put new fluid in and plug it back up. Not too many steps to this. So it's really loud with that air compressor going, but as you can see, we are sucking the fluid out of there. Here it comes. The fluid is rather thick, so this process is going to take a minute. And there it goes. And it's being sucked into here. And we'll probably have to fill this little guy up a couple of times before it's completely empty. So that's what we're doing now. Sucking all the old fluid out of there. Okay, so while that thing's still sucking fluid out of our front differential up there, I figured Why the hell don't we change the fluid in the transfer case? This is even easier. So what we're going to do is take our ratchet, this same size that takes the plugs out of the rear differential, the front differential, and the transfer case. I'm going to loosen both of these plugs. Then I'm going to remove this bottom plug. Fluid's going to start pouring into my catch pan. I'll remove the top plug, and then I'll just let it all drain out on its own. Once it's down to a drip, I'll put thread sealant back on both of these plugs. I'll put the bottom plug in, and then I'll put my new transfer case fluid up through the top plug, and then once it's full, it'll start leaking out a little bit. We'll plug it up, and this will be done. And that is so super easy. I don't know why more guys don't do this stuff on their own, because honestly, an oil change, a regular routine oil change, is way more difficult than this. This is easy stuff, guys. And I'm just gonna let that thing just drain itself completely out. No rush. I'm just gonna let it go. And I'm actually gonna have to get down there and empty that guy who's still sucking out front differential fluid. And that's what you should be seeing when the transfer case is full. So this took like 2 quarts to fill up the transfer case. So basically what this is doing, I mean, you really can't overfill this. I mean, you can put as much fluid as you want, it's just gotta spit it out, it's gonna be a waste. But you fill the fluid up, you just keep putting it in, and the fill line is right at the bottom of this hole. So eventually it's going to drip out. It's getting pretty slow now. And that's how you know it's full. Oh, I gotta stop that. We're filling up on number 2. Okay, so we've got one last thing to do before we complete the front differential service, and that is we have to pump 2 quarts of this 80W90 axle fluid into the front differential. Again, I know it says rear axle, but this is actually specs for the front axle front differential. What I'm going to do is use a basic fluid pump, and I'm gonna put this on top, which is actually going to be a 2-handed job because these quart bottles have wide mouths for some reason, so this is going to be loose, but it'll still work. And I'm going to stick the hose down into the front differential and just pump 2 quarts of that fluid in again until it starts to overflow out of the hole. That's when you know that it's filled to the top where it should be, and then we'll wipe it off and we'll clean our plug and put our plug back in, and the front differential will then be done. Okay, so I'm under the front differential now. There's my hose going into the fill hole of the front differential. Here I am, and there's my bottle with my pump on it. And all you do is sit right here and start pumping away. I already got 1 quart in. It should start to leak out toward the end of this 2nd quart. And then we'll plug it up and we're done with the front differential. That's how simple it is. That is how simple it is. Now you just changed your front differential fluid and your transfer case fluid in a matter of minutes in your own driveway, your own garage, apartment parking lot. As long as you have access to an air compressor and a simple ratchet set, that's all you need. You put the thread sealant back on all the plugs, put them back in the fill holes, and your job is done. Saved yourself a boatload of money from going to a shop, and you were never without your vehicle. So I hope these help, and I'll be posting more along the way. QuaranTube episode 6, signing out.